This huge bounce that we've just had on the S&P 500 has very likely completed. If we take a look at this monthly chart, you can see that for the past about 8 months, we've been trending in this megaphone pattern. And recently, we put in this topping tail. It's essentially over. There's 2 days left, which is Tuesday, but for this pattern to change in the next 2 days is very unlikely. So assuming that this closes as a topping tail, we're getting some major hints as to what's coming next. So usually what happens from a topping tail is there's a measured move. So if we take this and then we continue that same distance, we can get an estimate as to where price will end up. So it's showing that we're going to end up at this major trend line. So that trend line has been formed starting 2019, towards the end of 2019. So it's a very significant trend line, and that's exactly why we got this huge bounce off of that trend line. If we take a deeper look, we'll see that that's not exactly the story. We'll see that we actually broke that trend line right here, but because we had this other trend line, which is 1/2 of the megaphone pattern, we got a massive bounce off of that trend line. So we now know that this bottom trend line is very significant, and we know that it's more significant than this very historical trend line. So what's likely to happen next is we're going to come and retest this, and then after that, we'll see that there's no space here. There's no support. The next time we have support is this same trend line where we bounced off of recently, but the problem is that's now all the way down here, which is why megaphone patterns are so volatile, because over time their range expands. And that's the scary part about recessions. They get more and more volatile as they progress. So where are we going to end up soon? Let's see. One way we can determine where price will next bounce is to see where the next candle will end up if it were to close next week. So worst case scenario, this next candle can end up all the way here, all the way here. And we can see that that point actually meets this support. So if we draw out this next candle and we intersect it with this bottom trend line, we'll see that it matches exactly with this major top and this support over here. So this is very likely to be where price ends up next. If price ends up all the way in this area, what does that mean for everything else? What does that mean for crypto? What does that mean for dollar? What does that mean? So let's take a look. This is the 4-month chart of DXY. And interestingly, in a few days, in about 3 days, this 4-month chart will print a brand new 4-month candle. So we can see that since 2008, we've been in this uptrending channel. And in the next few days, we're going to end up retesting that upper resistance. And this is major resistance since 2008. It's a major, major resistance. So we can also see that there's more major resistance up here. And this is since 1969. So it's an even more major resistance, if that's how you want to put it. So what's likely to happen with dollar? Probably what's going to happen with dollar is we're going to retest the actual top, which there's still quite a bit of distance. The actual top is around 111 of this trend line, but the thing is, every time we come to the top, we slightly overshoot. And so if we actually change this a bit, we move it to the actual top just by an inch or two, we can readjust our top. So that top is actually 112, 113. So that would be probably a few more weeks of dollar strengthening. If we take a look at the weekly, we'll see that we're heading there very steadily. We thought we put in this top, but if you zoomed out to the 4-month chart, you'll have seen that there's actually quite a bit of space until we hit the actual top. And so this looks like at least a few more weeks of uptrending action. So we know that for the next few weeks, dollar will probably strengthen. If in the next few weeks dollar strengthens and S&P 500 heads drastically down, what will that do for the crypto market? So the chart I have in front of me is of the total market cap of all of crypto divided by the S&P 500. And so we're seeing how the crypto market performs relative to the S&P 500. And you'll see that for the past uh, right about 1 year almost, we've been downtrending significantly. And there's these major trend lines. And at the moment, we're at the cusp of breaking this trend line. We just move this down a little bit. We'll see that we bounced here and we're retesting that same trend line. So if we know that the S&P 500 is coming down in the next few weeks, and we know that the crypto market is performing worse than the S&P 500, it's very likely that this trend line will break. And the next area of support is really this second trend line that we've been tracing all the way since 2017. So that would be a huge, huge drop percentage wise. Percentage wise, it's about 25%. So what that means is whatever the S&P 500 drops by, the crypto market will drop 25% more than that. So that's a huge, huge drop, especially because we know that there's a huge drop coming up in the S&P 500. S&P 500 is likely to drop by 16%. So 16 plus 35, if we want to keep it simple, it can get much more complicated than that. But this is an example of what can happen. 16 plus 25 is nearly 40%. A nearly 40% drop in the crypto market. So if we take a look at Bitcoin, we'll see that a 40% drop from here would be right around this next contact point of this major trend line. And that's around 11,500. So it's going to get really intense in the next few weeks. Very, very intense. And probably a lot of people are going to leave the markets. There's going to be panic. And that's ultimately where the most opportunity is. I don't think 11,500 is the bottom. I think it's actually 8,500. That's very likely to be the bottom. There's major confluence on so many different trend lines here, and so that's probably going to be the bottom. Over the next few weeks and couple months, it's going to get very bearish. A lot of people are going to leave the investing world, the trading world, and that's going to be your time to shine. So stay tuned for the next weekly videos, and I'll keep you guys posted on what's going on. As this progresses, I'm going to be revealing to you guys where the best opportunities are. I'm talking about 300, potentially 350x in the next 3 to 4 years. So this is going to be life-changing opportunities coming up, and 300 to 350x is honestly conservative. So stay tuned for that, and I'll be revealing where these opportunities are over time. And if you like this content and you watched all the way till the end, please subscribe. It really helps the channel. It's a new channel, so the growth really matters right now. Thanks.